Welcome back to Rose Education. This is Zach. Today I'm going to be covering Clover Health again, CLOV. Now, if you haven't watched my previous video, you can find it in the description. You can watch it after this one. I'm giving a quick update, mainly lying around to technical analysis, and then a little bit of pinpointing on the due diligence updates and what I'm looking for. Make sure to drop a like to this video to help this channel grow, subscribe, and leave notifications on, and let's jump right into this one. So Clover Health, previously known as, well, was a SPAC, reverse merger, and now we have Clover Health. And so what we're expecting from this one, as I did mention before, was basically the accumulation period, and I have interesting stuff regarding that in the technical analysis. Nonetheless, I do want to look into further upside in terms of economy, and I want to know what the next PRs are probably going to be. So first off, they're going to have some regulatories or regulations that are needed that will need to basically streamline that process for them to be able to be available widely in all states. Now, they're not in all states, and you can expect some of the next PRs is to start expanding, right? You can have a bit more expansions in other states or regulations that are getting accepted, whether local, municipal, or state or federal laws that can actually also affect this one. The next thing here is the improvement of from 3 to 3.5 stars, and then subsequently from 3.5 to 4 stars. That is in the growth strategy regarding their rating themselves. So you can expect some improvements in ratings as we go forward. So the next thing here, and this is one of the things they highlighted down. Based on the recommendations from Medicare Payment Advisory Commission, an independent, nonpartisan legislative branch agency, the agency released a report into Congress in June 2020 titled Medicare and Healthcare Delivery System, in which STARS programs is discussed. And so it is a regulation, or sorry, it is basically a program put by the government. And so you can expect with new regulations being put in, they can easily be pumped back to or up to 3.5, etc. Now, again, the current programs, incumbent programs, are annually high cost and have, well, between narrow and access on the medium access, but Clover has open access with low cost, and that is something massive. Now, we already kind of covered this one before, and there are massive estimates regarding mainly 14% annual in terms of the Medicare Advantage itself. The growth is to 14% from $270 billion to $590 billion within 5 years. So that is some things to consider in there. I know I made them a last video, and a lot of folks were mentioning, well, hey, did you actually see about the insider buyers? Well, big part of it in terms of institutional buyers and insider buyers. When a SPAC or a special acquisition merger happens, you will see a lot of these files. And of course, that is a big reason why this is all happening. Including as well, one of the people that are very bullish on it was by SCH sponsor, Chamath. So this person here has exercised some of his shares, and he's holding a lot amount of shares. And if you go back into my previous videos, not the last one, a few ones before, I did talk about how they were very bullish about it. This is a very exact person behind Virgin Galactic as well, and other different SPACs. And so it's not their first gig, and they're definitely very bullish on it because the board themselves, the acquisition, they do take a percentage of the entire company for the long run. So in short, why would they be investing in this company if they think it's going to be trash and lower down? Now, of course, it's going to take some time, and I'll explain that a little bit more. Institutional buyers, well, of course, we do have the 26.8% for SCH sponsors, and of course, the shares that have been merged in, that was around 300 and I believe 10 million shares coming in around, well, the float is not corrected currently, but all in all comes out somewhere around 350 million shares. Now, that's not just the float, that is also outstanding shares to my understanding. So we already kind of have this kind of bubble of idea of what we're going on. In terms of events, there's none currently coming up, at least in the near future. But as we said, there is some regulations and laws that can really bump this one to at least 3.5 and then move on forward. Now, technical analysis, if you haven't done so, please make sure to actually subscribe. It's not a cliche. I'm not going to go brag to my friends, hey, I have X amount of subscribers. It really helps my channel, and it bumps me up in the algorithms. And that way, it motivates me to make more videos. So make sure to subscribe and leave notifications on. Now, on a 2-hour perspective here on Clover Health, because one day is a little bit rough, here we get to see that it is in fact sliding downwards. But the very interesting thing that I did cover in my last video was the pattern that it's actually falling down to. And a good way to look at it from my previous video was basically trying to find a significant support. Now, I'm using here Google, and this is really bad, but my platform doesn't really show me a good support, or doesn't really show me a massive escape or a view. So you can get to see, yes, there is significant support somewhere around 13.14, 12.98, and a little bit short to around the $13 sharp. That seems to be a good support. Now, of course, we've seen a little bit of a bounce today, and especially here, you get to see it's in the bearish trading action zone. Above 14.08, it becomes bullish. Above 14.49, it's definitely bullish. Now, we're going to do quickly on a 1 hour perspective. You get to see things, the moving averages are actually starting to push a little further. You're getting this thing here that are very interesting. It's actually a pattern, so I'm going to explain that in a second. But before doing so, volumes here in gray have been very much almost on the same line. And when we look exactly into this kind of pattern, I did talk about it before. I said we're in this channel and it's probably going to trade within this channel. And today, it actually started breaking that channel. And that is an amazing news because it's showing in there is resistance on there that is trying to really push forward and create or break that trend. Now, of course, I'm not saying, okay, it's going to bounce, period, but at least it's actually attempting to move on forward and seeking a bit more of a bullish run. That is amazing in my books. Now, just a quick thing here to cover. If we were going on into a 1 hour perspective, we can easily start drawing another trend line. This is actually called a box. And you get to see over here, initially you have your drop, first hits, and then back up, back down. Then you can expect it to hit a little bit further down to 13-ish. Well, it currently is 13-ish, probably maybe to 13.20 before it starts bouncing back. Now, every time it starts attempting to hit the top or the bottom, that is a massive significant line you need to consider. Because in all retrospect, it can easily go either way, but I'm very bullish about this one in the very long term, as I did describe in my previous videos. Now, significant supports and resistances might be tricky to find below, but we can at least say, we can at least mention here some significant resistances we're looking at. A significant one here is the 14.18. That's a massive one. It failed a few times. Before there is the 14.58. That was a previously strong support. Above there, 14.85, followed by 15.43, followed by 15.70, towards 16.24. Now comes to the question to really, Ed, what do you think about this one? I definitely think in the short term, it will need to start accumulating. It will trade a little bit sideways, and that is amazing. That's exactly what you needed to do. It's accumulating. And that's where it gives a little bit of opportunities for other folks to grab this one here. And I definitely think a little bit in the longer term, it will really have a lot of profits. Now, whether we're talking about, let's say, longer term, in months, I definitely think it might actually start bouncing back, or it could be even a matter of a couple of weeks. But definitely, if I was to give a scope for when do I think this one will start really showing massive profits, probably be a time frame of 2 years or so, where everything in their books actually starts really giving. I'm talking about book value. I'm not talking about intrinsic value. Of course, intrinsic value, people can just easily say, okay, well, I think this one's going to be $30 in 2 years. I'm buying it 30 now. And that's a fault that we have in our stock markets. But I definitely think if the book value will probably be a lot higher within the next 2 years. That is my opinion. What do you think about the sticker? Make sure to mention down in the comments below. Share, subscribe, and like. You have a wonderful day.